And I was young and very driven, egoically driven, that when people don't buy your records, you start going, your imposter syndrome comes out. You start thinking you're a fraud, and then you live the life of one. I, I was a drowning man, so to speak, and drowning people are dangerous, and they take other people down with them, and so that's what it was, and it is the only, as a man in recovery now, almost 9 years.
Good for you. Correct.
Thank you. It's the only job you're encouraged to be fucked up, So every night when you go to work, there is a bottle of Jack there, and there's a case of beer, and there's girls at the door, and somebody's got blow, and so it's all just there. It's it's part of your job. It's like the coffee machine in the office,
When I look at my life and my passions as a kid, I reflect on all the things that I did not pursue. For instance, way back before Wayne's World or Jackass or the Tom Green Show or other slapstick prank type parody shows, I had a public access TV show on local cable called Bite Me. It was pretty much a compilation of the shows I just named, but it was before them. I was before my time. We did a few episodes, and it was an absolute blast. It was my junior and senior year in high school. It had nothing to do with a school project or assignment. I took the class at the local studio, and I got a crew together and put on the show. It was fun. Years later, an emergence of Bite Me ripoffs came to be. Just like now on Instagram, motherfuckers are out there copying my content. I look at my son. In 8th grade, he was making rap songs and producing them. Now that he is in high school, his attention appears to be going a different direction, like toward girls. But he did have a run there and put a few songs up on Spotify under his rap name, Mazo Ice. Both my parents are no longer with us, but I have a room in my house that has a bunch of their belongings and memories showcased. On the wall is artwork my mom did when she was in high school. It was on my grandparents' wall until they passed. It made its way to boxes in my parents' basement until they passed. I found it when I was cleaning out my parents' house, and now it's up on my wall. Pretty good artwork if you ask me, and I don't care if I'm biased or not. I'm proud of my mom's work as a teenager, just like my grandparents were. It needs to be displayed. Life happens. My son likes girls more than his music now. My mom got married and became a preschool teacher instead of an artist. I was good at football, so that dominated my life, and I did not pursue my public access TV hosting career. What I'm describing, no doubt, is not unique to my family. All of us at some point ignore our passions. Or maybe a better way to put it is, we lose passion for our passions. Why do we go a different direction than what we might have been born to do? I think the easy answer is the pressure of life, the need for a paycheck, the much, much easier road and go get a 9-to-5 job. Yeah, no shit. Getting a job in corporate America is not usually thought of as the easier road. But if you think about it in this context, maybe it is. For all of the reasons I just laid out, I am very excited about today's guest. This is somebody that defies this paradigm and has focused on his passion and continued to pursue it despite obstacles that would make most choose a different direction. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Glencrest Global. Glencrest Global is a Chicago and Los Angeles-based venture capital firm that is involved in interesting companies with interesting founders. To see some of Glencrest Global's investments, visit glencrestglobal.com. When I first got a phone call about having Michael McDermott on my show, I looked into him a little and initially thought, okay, cool, but this isn't really on point with the show's content. You see, I have a buddy of mine that's a huge live music fan. He's been following Michael's journey for years, and he wanted to kind of play a connector role as he's also a fan of this podcast. Well, I appreciate the attempt, Dennis, but a singer-songwriter doesn't really make sense for the show, regardless of how much I like his music. Of course, I love the idea of having someone with a following like Michael's on the show. That'll only help my podcast, right? But I don't know what the fuck we're going to talk about. Then it dawned on me. What better definition of an entrepreneur is there than a singer trying to make it? Today, we are going to discuss the trials and tribulations of the music business from an industry veteran with an international following. Michael McDermott knows a thing or two about heartbreak and arrested development. Back in the early 90s, McDermott was the new host of the major label recording industry with his debut album. But in typical chew them up and spit them out style, McDermott had seemingly been tossed in the never been bin by the end of that decade. And I wish I could take credit for coming up with that. I stole that from Michael's website, the never been bin. Michael, you should trademark that shit. Anyway, I digress. Sorry. He persevered, though, and built a career fortified by more than a dozen studio albums and critical acclaim from Rolling Stone, the New York Times, CNN, and the Washington Post, to name a few. Even Stephen King, the master of the best-selling horror novel genre, called McDermott possibly the greatest undiscovered rock and roll talent for the last 20 years. But this heartland rocker continues to make music on his own terms. He is the ultimate survivor of the potentially soul-crushing world of money-hungry executives and starving singer-songwriters yearning for stardom. I introduced to the show a man that did not stop following his passion in exchange for a paycheck. You follow how I tied all that back in, everybody? Welcome to 2,000% Raise, Michael McDermott.
Hey, John.
Hey, man, this is great. I mean, Michael and I were just kind of sharing a laugh, and we don't know each other. We have a mutual friend. That's about as far as it goes. I downloaded some of your music, Michael, and gosh, I got to tell you, man, I guess let me start with this. It wasn't the order I was going to ask this question in, but it just seems natural right now. You know, we had a guy on the show, Darren Rovell, in the past, and he was talking about businesses, and it's not necessarily the product, it's the navigation of getting the product to market. And he was talking about a cocktail in the beverage industry. And he said 1% of it's how good the product is. The other 99% of it's navigating this bullshit to get out there. And as I prepared for this show to you, and after listening to your music, I mean, you know, you've had some fame, man. You have the following. But
Yeah.
you're not exactly a household name. And after listening to your music, I scratched my head and said, why the hell aren't you?
Yeah, well, my mom used to say that all the time. So reading about you though, John, and I thought the same thing. I knew it was a business kind of podcast, but reading about what you did and thinking about my path, it's kind of similar. You took a chance on yourself, really,
Right.
and of course, as a musician, everybody knows this, but your parents go like, well, you got to have something to fall back on.
Right.
And I would say that for any actor, any screenwriter, any musician, that's the thing, but I was dumb enough and, had, enough chutzpah to go, I'm not going to need anything to fall back on.
Okay.
And so really there were no other options. It's kind of like that old, the saying, like, burn the boats.
Yep.
Or, just if you want to take the island, burn the boats. So there's no escape route. And that's kind of what I before I knew that line, but what I did.
I like to say, remove the safety net. I think of like a trapeze artist, remove the safety net, but you better catch that monkey bar, buddy.
Changes everything. And it's all Darwinian, really, and that's why I think, and we could go into it deeper if you wanted, but in terms of our parents and what my dad did for me, because I made quick work of the music industry saying I was the next Bob Dylan.
Okay.
I fucked it up really fast for myself, and I did it to myself. I torched the island, and so my parents were instrumental in terms of and I got very deep into, I was facing 3 to 6 years in prison, and
Well, before we get into that, let's give the audience some flavor. I'm quite certain we have some people listening because you're my guest. So I appreciate the fact that you're introducing me to some of your fans as well, Michael.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, and hopefully anybody listening continues to follow both of us. But Mike, why don't you give us a little bit of an overview, all of the types of music you play, And we're going to get into your career more specifically, but just give us a flavor of the music. I know you've done a lot of WXRT here in Chicago. Maybe the types of venues you've played at, and maybe share a story about one of your favorite venues.
Yeah. Well, so I, grew up on the South Side and grew up born in Beverly, grew up in Orland Park, Carl Sandburg High School, played basketball in high school.
Okay.
And then senior year, there was kind of the inflection point where I thought, it was going to college. And then so I was enrolled at Loyola, and I went for one day. I got the syllabus and I went, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
And for those that don't know, by the way, Loyola University is on the lakefront in Chicago. And assuming Michael enrolled at a regular time, that's summertime Chicago. There's a lot of worse places to be than Loyola University's campus, okay?
Yeah. But when I saw that there was, the amount of work and that it involved, I thought, this is not for me. So anyway, fast forward, I started playing open mics in Chicago, just playing anywhere I could, cut my teeth. There was an article in the Sun-Times about me, and then Brian Koppelman in New York, who had just signed Tracy Chapman at the time, late 80s. He came to Chicago, saw me at Metro. I got signed, lived in LA, big record deal, big publishing deal, big MTV, the whole thing. And so then touring the country and playing around the world, and then it all went away pretty quick. I was washed up at 24.
Wow. Wow. And was there a breakthrough album? You named your first album after your address in the city, didn't you? Right. Was that the one that had the hits? Was it on the?
It was.
Okay.
It was 620 West Surf. And then the second record came out, didn't do well at all. And then it was just kind of, And then I made a third one, final, the Death Knell. And then that was it. And so then,
would you say the third one was the Death Knell? Did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, if this one doesn't work, we're fucked.
Right. That was it. And it was over pretty much at that point. It was over. And then there was a long period of a desert life and just destroying everything. And then things turned around. But I've played all around the country, all around most of the world.
You made a move around this time, it sounds like, out to Los Angeles. Recently, we have a lot in common there. A year ago, I made the move to Los Angeles.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, a year ago, I made the move to Los Angeles. I'm between the two. What we don't have in common is at least not yet, is you developed a drug problem in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Have you been homeless in LA yet, though, John?
Okay. No. For the record, I shouldn't make jokes about drug problems. It is serious. No, I know. So what happened though, man? So what did the music industry? By the way, where were you at in LA? I'm right off the Sunset Strip. I'm assuming like those places, like the Abbey and all that shit. Because I'm by Whiskey A Go Go.
I was at Highland in Hollywood for a while. I was getting over in Beechwood Canyon and Little Santa Monica, and so 3 different places.
Okay.
I was.
Okay. Did you ever party at the Sunset Marquis back in the day, the hotel?
I did. Yes.
Okay.
I have.
That's right. I live on that street, so it's always funny going there, man, because you could see like the nostalgia walking in. It's like it's still a big Jimi Hendrix picture with his arms out. It's like 1976 or whatever. Didn't ever leave,
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's something that with Springsteen too. There, I can't remember. There were some famous moments.
Yeah,
there. But.
Dude, did I say Jimi Hendrix? I didn't mean Jimi Hendrix. I'm talking about that picture. God, I'm embarrassing myself in front of Michael's fans right now. The guy, the lead singer, Jim Morrison. Thank God.
Okay.
I think at least it was a Jim. Jeez, or would I say Jimi Hendrix? I was trying to say the Jim Morrison picture with his shirt off and his arms look stunned.
7 though, so we're good.
The hell's wrong with me?
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, I love LA, and so good for you.
You want to gamble, but maybe not like all the way gamble, but you like fantasy? Moneyline app is the place for you. Play your prop bets in a parlay with some unique payout or continue options along the way. Make this company one of the faster growing apps of its nature. Check out Moneyline app on Apple and Android. You had a drug issue developed. Did the music industry do that to you, or was it after music didn't work out you turned to that?
Yeah, it was, so much of it was based, and I was young and very driven, egoically driven, that when people don't buy your records, you start going, your imposter syndrome comes out. You start thinking you're a fraud, and then you live the life of one. I I became, I was a drowning man, so to speak, and drowning people are dangerous, and they take other people down with them, and so that's what it was. And it is the only, as a man in recovery now, almost 9 years.
Good for you. Congrats.
Thank you. It's the only job you're encouraged to be fucked up. So every night when you go to work, there is a bottle of Jack there, and there's a case of beer, and there's girls at the door, and somebody's got blow, and so like it's all just there. It's kind of, it's part of your job. It's like the coffee machine in the office.
You said you had a feeling when that third album failed, a feeling of being a fraud, and in my experience, okay, whenever I fail, I have that same like almost anxiety in my stomach. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, everyone kind of defines me as this. Everybody, oh dude, John's really good at football. Okay, well, I left Notre Dame to transfer to Northwestern. Are they going to think I wasn't good enough to be at Notre Dame, but I was good enough? Oh, I'm going to make sure the newspapers know exactly why I left. I'm not going to let anyone think I'm a fraud. You know what I mean? And then a couple years later, why didn't you play in the NFL? Oh, I got hurt, and I'm going to make sure the Chicago Tribune writes a story about this so everybody knows it. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to have that damn feeling, man. And I could think of just in the times you're talking about here, Michael, in the 90s, holy crap, like there is no social media. So and there wasn't when I was there either. You're not that much older than me, but it's like you're trying to build this damn music career, and hey, I'm driving to work tomorrow morning. Do I hear Michael on the freaking radio or not? I don't. So you can't even make up for this shit. There's no YouTube,
Right. You couldn't control your own narrative, really. Now you can.
Yeah. You sure can.
But we are absolutely, as a people, we become exactly what we're told we are, by our parents, our friends, ourselves.
Yep.
So the imposter syndrome for me is still a daily guy I see in the mirror, and it was a long time of living kind of an inauthentic life. And
then did the imposter syndrome come as well from the drug use, or was it just because of the failure of the music at the time? Because as you're saying this, and I hopefully you'll appreciate this analogy, I think of Rocket Man and the song The Rocket Man, what it's about. Yeah. He's talking about, you think I'm this, because they wrote that song while he was in rehab. You know what I mean? Yeah. So this is who I really am, but you guys think I'm this guy. You know what I mean? That's how I took it. At least.
And it's funny, like, in LA is, because being out there in those early days too, speaking of Rocket Man, I met Bernie Taupin, awesome. In LA, celebrities all over the place. It's just, and then you go back to Chicago, and then you go back to your crack house, and you go back, and it's just a really weird way to navigate your life. And like, what is this dream?
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to tell you, Michael, thank you for saying that. And by the way, you don't need to be a music star to fall into that trap. Okay. Nope. You start associating with, these same 5 or 6 guys, and they're all about this, and someone always has a bag of whatever in their pocket. It's a death trap, and it's a black hole that spirals the wrong direction. And you gotta be, you gotta either hit rock bottom where that pulls you out of it, or you gotta see it coming yourself and pull yourself out of it. But when you're surrounded with other people, there's that degree of normalcy to it. And it just presents a huge problem. And I can't imagine, one of the things I like to say to people, and I say it to my kids, it's like, hey, the people available to drink with you on a Wednesday afternoon ain't the people you want to be hanging out with. Okay. Right. And guess what? If it's your idea all the time, you're the one texting them to come meet you. Guess what? You're the bad influence, not them. Okay. Look in the freaking mirror. And I just can't imagine for somebody like in the freaking music industry. Here's the rest of us, or not the rest of us, but like just people in general go on these little benders or whatever and fall off the wagon a little bit. Oh, I'm going to pretend I'm a rock star. Well, what if you actually are a rock star? I mean, how do you get out of it?
Yeah.
Oh man,
absolutely.
Yeah. Special shout out to OSDB, online sports database. Founders Ryan Rahman, Nate Raven, and Aaron Rodgers have developed the IMDb of sports. It should be considered your go-to spot for a thorough look at your favorite pro athletes. Everything from contract details to stats to business ventures and even charities they're involved in. Visit osdbsports.com. So you said something about the 12% nothing or 100% of everything. I'm happy to answer what my opinion, but maybe you could shed some light, because I got to tell you, especially in hip hop right now, there's all these guys coming up that are, Chance the Rapper has made damn songs about not using a record label. You know what I mean? Right. I got to think the talent needs to be extraordinary if you make that move, but how does that work?
Yeah. So when people ask me, because I was at the very end of like the record industry, like the old schools, the salad days.
Okay.
And people say, but so there were gatekeepers, like Warner Brothers, Columbia Records. They had gatekeepers that you got signed. When you got signed, it doesn't even mean your record's coming out. But they were like A&R, the artist and repertoire.
Okay.
So they would let you through if they thought you were good enough. And so there was a quality control.
Okay.
So when people ask me, what's better about the music industry now than it was back then? And I'll say the same answer. I say, well, the great thing about the music industry now is that anybody with a MacBook can make a record. and what's the worst thing about the music industry today? It's because anybody can make a record. Anybody with a MacBook can make a record. There's no quality control. Yep. Anybody can put out a record. And anybody can be on Spotify, and anybody can do it.
Right.
So that's the weird thing, is that in those days, Warner Brothers would put out 15 records a year, and you knew when they released something, the press knew this is something to listen to. Now, when I talk to journalists, they're like, Michael, you have no idea. My desk is just overrun with, a guy in his bedroom making a record. And
that's right.
Nothing. It's just, they don't even know what to listen to anymore.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
And so
A&R used to control that whole thing. They were the funnel.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So as an artist, so you get an advance and you got a record deal, you get an advance, something to live off of. Now, after my record went in the toilet and then started over again, I own everything.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, so in terms of the gross numbers, it's probably way smaller than it was then. But I get it all. Instead, I never got
nice
back then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you market yourself as an independent as well, too. Isn't there some? There's probably some synergy with the fan base. The fact that you come across it, they know you're independent.
Absolutely.
Congratulations to my business partners at Let's Real Estate, who have done a phenomenal job with rentals, rehabs, remodels, selling, and flipping in today's market. If you want more information on how you might be able to work with Let's as a possible partner, reach out to me and I'll put you in touch.
We're going to fast forward. You pulled yourself, and I don't want to focus. Michael, you got so much to share, so I don't want to. You've been 9 years sober. We don't need to. I think everybody could kind of put 2 and 2 together. Third album fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Now we're out of it. We're in this last 9 years here, Michael. So you just said, let's go. I'm back on my feet. Here's what I'm about. What clicked for you to get there?
Well, sobriety was the main thing. But so when my dad died, we thought, my dad lived very frugally. My mom died first, and my dad died. And we thought he had nothing. The house was underwater. He had no savings, no money. My oldest brother helped him pay that. And we thought, what happened to all his money, man? And my other brother said, it was you.
Whoa.
I was like, what do you mean it's me? It's like, that's when I had nothing. He was covering for you. All those years, all those, they'd be like.
Hopefully they didn't say it to you like at the funeral. They gave it a couple weeks of.
No, it was after that. It was wow. It was, I had no idea what we owed. And because my dad kind of ran things for me, at first, the good days, we had a business manager in LA, Siegel and Feltz, they took care of everything. And then slowly when money wasn't being made, then my dad just kind of took it over. And he never told me what we were, we were I was deeply in debt, and then filed for bank. And then that was ground zero. But he was the one that took the hit.
Gotcha. So, okay. So your brother shares that information with you.
Yeah.
That's like one of those pivotal. Now you were already sober at that point, though, correct?
No, I wasn't.
Oh, you were not. Okay. That's what led you to, that's how pivotal it was. It got you to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that was just a good excuse to then go drown my sorrows in that.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, when I finally got sober, that's then everything. Then there was just clarity. There was no clarity for, 12, 14 years or whatever.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And then did you, one of the questions I had for you, and I'm going to put my glasses on here and read it to you verbatim because I like how I worded it and I don't want to screw this up. your parents both passed, as you just said, and you wrote a song about it, and we all grieve and express ourselves in different ways, Michael, when it comes to deaths of loved ones.
Yeah.
I could say personally, I lost both of my parents relatively recently, not over the last few years. I didn't know how to express myself on the subject. Okay. And I kind of, Michael, feel like you're cheating a little bit. And this is not what I wrote down. This is genuine. I kind of feel like you're cheating a little bit because as a songwriter, okay, I got my associate in the room with me right now, Brian. He lost his dad when he was in his 20s. It's very unexpected, or younger, actually. We all express ourselves different ways, right?
Yes.
I mean, what a nice weapon to have in your arsenal, Michael, to be able to have that kind of talent and turn around and not only write a song about it, but a good song that people actually are going to listen to too. And that going in. How important was this to you?
Yeah, this song is a song that I do mostly every show. And because when I don't do it, people go, why didn't you do that song? I just lost my blank. I mean, it's a song about grief, really. And the whole song, John, I don't know if you've heard it, but the whole song is really in the last 20 seconds.
Okay.
Where I just shout, I love you, I love you. And it's an incantation. It's a guttural. It's a primal scream.
Awesome.
The whole song's, I think, well written. All that stuff sounds great. But the whole heart of the song is that last bit where people really connect to it because it's our early man wailing deep, profound grief. And it just, it's in that moment, it's the all the times you should have said it, and so that's what the song really is. And when I don't do that song, people always ask me, and then I feel bad, like, why didn't you do Shadow in the Window? Because it was just, my dad was, Irish guy, and of course we never say it enough,
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, it was old school Irish. We didn't say those kinds of things,
Right.
and
Yeah, a little bit of a Cats in the Cradle vibe to it.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Awesome.
Anyway, so it was that song is just a gift. And so in Italy, I just won this award, the Primo Tenco Award, which is this unbelievable, the highest just honor in Italy. And Tom Waits and Sting and Jackson Brown and Nick Cave and Joni Mitchell, and anyway, the list goes on. But that was the one thing they gave me this award, which was unbelievable. But they said you got to play Shadow in the Window. So that was the one thing at the awards. So
that's incredible, man. And that's a good segue here because I was going to ask you, and you just brought up both of the countries. I'm part Italian and part Irish. Yeah, not everybody knows that. My grandpa on my dad's side, Armando, came over. He came over right after the boat. He wasn't actually on the boat, but then my grandma was Irish, came over actually on the boat, and the two of them met wherever they met. And anyway, that's our family. How did you build a following, Michael? How does this happen where you have this large contingent in Ireland and Italy, and also maybe share with us while you answer it, maybe are the fans there different than the fans in America? What are some kind of nuances between the two that we might find interesting?
Yeah, well, so they have to study the lyrics because there is obviously there's a language barrier.
Yeah.
So they know the lyrics better than any English-speaking country, anyway, because
they're actually reading it before the show. Okay,
it translate, and it's crazy,
Okay.
So sometimes when I tour there, they have translation books and all that. So I was there. I got asked to open for somebody, and they said, "There's no money. Do you want to go to Italy? You want to open up two weeks of shows?" And and this is in my addiction and all that. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Get out of town. Good time, Charlie's. A little tired here, may as well, flee town."
This is while during your addiction.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were actually still on your feet performing during the addiction. Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was limping along.
And you were doing free shows in Italy. Not shocking that your dad was broke, Michael.
It wasn't free, but it was very. I think it was maybe, I don't know if it was €50 a night or something.
Okay.
So anyway, so I didn't even know where I was supposed to go. I knew the town where the tour started, and then I was going to join the headlining act and just drive with them. So I just knew I had to find them on day one.
Okay.
So I get into town. I go to the hotel at night. I'm outside Milan. I try to check in the hotel. My credit card doesn't work. So I have to, unfortunately, it's early here. I call back home. My parents give them their credit card. And so in the morning, I go to city center. I just figure I'll find out where this gig is. And so I went there and started drinking and by 3, 4 in the afternoon, I noticed that somewhere there were on some steps there were some people lining up, and so I thought, oh, what's going on over there? I said, maybe that's the place. So anyway, at some point, I walked out and I started walking over, and people are all lined up and sitting on the steps, and I see this somebody writing on a big white board, and I see him writing, and as I walked by, I looked down and I saw him writing in English, and he was writing a song title of mine, and I went, hey, and he looked up. I said, I wrote that, and he looked up, started crying. He said, Michael, and he got up and he started hugging, and we both started crying.
Wow.
I don't know why. I was half drunk, and it was just like this intense moment. And people started crying, coming around me, and they had my album. Like, I never knew my first record came out on album. My first record was big over there.
Wow.
No one ever told me. I had no idea. All these people were lined up to see me open for the headline.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't believe. And the promoter was like, and they were like, well, yeah, Michael, where have you been? I was like, had anyone told me? I've been over a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that changed my life. That was like a moment in my life where I thought my self-worth went up from the gutter, and it changed everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have those dreams coming up? You talked about being a kid at Carl Sandburg High School on the South Side, and did you envision yourself having fans like this, or were you just purely, I love music, I got to find a way to make a living doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I must have. I don't remember, but I didn't have. That was never the goal.
Gotcha.
Really, it was just I could play songs on the stage. That was kind of where it started. So, but yeah, and then so I started playing, touring Italy a bunch. I got married over there, and then 2 weeks ago I was there to accept the one of the highest honors they have in music for international contribution to the culture.
Dude, that's pretty damn cool, man. It's just like a feel good success story. So you went through this. That was a point where you were close to your low point. You have this glimmer of hope, and now here you are. You're smiling. You're doing venues like the Park West. People, you have fans, and you're truly doing this shit because
I had to make parody. Like you had said, I had to reacclimate myself to different definitions of success. We all have those definitions of what we want.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to recalibrate what success is to you.
Yeah.
And, and you redefine those things because your ego and your ambition as a younger person is so great that I think you only set yourself up for certain failures and disappointment. And then you're chasing that dragon, so to speak. And then once I said, I'm happy, man, playing the Park West. I love playing the Park West. That guy in 1993, me in 1993, I would have been like, fuck that. I want to play the Rosemont Horizon.
Right, right. Also, we're dating ourselves. It's Allstate Arena now, but yeah.
I know, right? I would have been pissy about it and entitled and bitter about it.
Yeah.
Resentful.
You know what's so funny though, man? It's like, look at the opposite end of that spectrum though, where people that actually did make it there, they're almost like shocked that they did. I was at a bourbon tasting, Metallica. Obviously, don't need an introduction for Metallica. They did this private bourbon tasting of this blackened American whiskey. Okay, it's called blackened. And they're talking to the group of 40 of us, and Lars is there, and Robert Trujillo, their bass player, and they're doing a special concert that night where we're at. It was a small venue, only like 6,000 people, but they were only playing stuff from the early 80s. Because their manager from Megaforce Records is the one who gave them and Anthrax their break and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he passed away earlier in the year. They're going to have his family. There was a one-time show. So any Metallica fans, they're only doing Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All. But Lars is talking to us at this bourbon tasting the night before the show, and he's explaining why they're doing only those songs. And he goes, isn't it like shocking? Like, first of all, the fact that we're still standing here 40 years later. Okay. The fact that the music is still relevant 40 years later, like even when you have that success, Michael, I feel like there's this, you better be in this at the end of the day because you love making music, man.
Absolutely.
Whatever your level of success is, like all the other shit is almost just like details. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah. When people, and not to sound impossibly old, but when people go like, when I'm famous, no. That's the wrong way of looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And as a football player, you would know, like, what are the percentages of people that end up playing in the NFL?
Well, exactly. Yeah. And when I played tight end, there was, at that time, nobody was famous that played tight end. We were like this little position nobody cared about. Now they're freaking superstars. I missed my time. Although Although if I played right now, they'd probably make me play center or something. Tight ends look like freaking giant receivers now.
I know. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly.
This is John Cerasani, and thank you for listening to the show as I interrupt myself. If you have a business or a business idea and want me to take a look at it, let me know and we could set up a $500 consultation. If your business idea is one that I don't think I can help you on, I will respectfully decline the meeting, but I'll still give you my 2 cents for free. One possible outcome of these meetings is that we become business partners. Additionally, I'm looking for people that want opportunities or need capital for their cash flowing business idea. This could be anything from franchise opportunities to something new and proprietary. Contact me at 2000percentraise.com and fill out the serious inquiries only form on the bottom to get started.
Hey, so you touched on something else, and this will be a good path into my final question. Everybody knows the final question I ask, but before I get to the final question, when I was reading your bio, I had to take a double take, man. Stephen King, the author, Stephen King, referred to you as the best undiscovered artist of the last 20 years. Now, why the fuck is Stephen King making comments about music artists? And where did this come from?
Well, so he's a huge music fan.
Okay.
So I was playing somewhere in upstate New York, I think, and somebody had, people leave me stuff at shows, and they left a book, and I looked at it, and I was like, a Stephen King book, and it didn't look like it was an official book, and I opened it up, and he had said, "Hey, Michael, I used your lyrics in this book. I'm a huge fan. Listening,
Holy shit."
And so I was like, "What?" It's anyway. So fast forward, I was like, "That's crazy. No one ever told me that."
Yeah.
A week later, I'm playing basketball at my sister's house, and she opens the window and she's like, "Hey, you got a phone call?" I was like, "I'm in the middle of a game," and she's like, "It's Stephen King," and I was like, "The author?" Like, I was like, "What the fuck?" So I go in, and why is he calling me at my sister's house? I was like, "Hello," and he's like, "Hey, Michael, Steve King, a big fan. Like, listen, I'm coming to Chicago. You want to go to a Cubs game next week?" And I was like, "Next." Wait, dude, are you sure you're not looking for McDonald's? Like, what are we,
Wow.
And so we ended up going to a game. We became friends with the family, and
holy shit.
So, yeah,
dude, that's a pretty damn. I mean, I'm sure you've encountered many cool people in your life, but Stephen King's some different level of shit, man. That's pretty. You don't hear that one every day.
Yeah, he anywhere he go, I've never hung out with somebody that famous, like, socially, because you go to a Cubs game, and man, by the second inning, I was on the aisle, and people all lined up like, "Hey, will you give Mr. King the assignment?" I was like, "I'll do that."
Wow.
You go to a Memphis barbecue rib place with them. By the time your iced tea comes, there's 6 people with books.
Well, it takes one person. It takes one person to recognize them, right? Then it leaks out like wildfire.
But you'd be amazed. Like, do they all carry Stephen King books around? Like, whatever. Barbecue joint. And he doesn't sign because he knows that it would be like feeding raccoons.
People are walking around with freaking Dolores Claiborne and Flowers in the Attic books. I just happen to have this in my car.
It's unbelievable. Did they run home? Like, we haven't even gotten the orders yet. Like,
oh, man, that's funny. Why does I freaking reference Flowers in the Attic? Is that even Stephen King? I'm not even sure.
Ever wonder if an old social media post is going to come back and haunt you? Maybe with your employer, or maybe with a client? Get a free scan of your social media and check out LifeBrand's amazing AI and machine learning technology at lifebrand.life.
So last question I leave everyone with. I always make a joke that I forget half the time. I think my batting average might be a little bit higher. It was 50-50. Hopefully by the time this airs, we're closer to 70%. I forget to ask, though. Michael, and I'm also going to throw in a twist here. And because you're in music, I'm just going to mention one of my favorite movies is a movie called Almost Famous. If you haven't seen it, Jimmy Fallon's a little high schooler in it. It comes across as if it was based on a true story. I learned later that it's not a true story, but it might as well be. It's a pretty damn good movie. Michael, it doesn't have to be music, doesn't have to be business. Michael McDermott recommends what movie to our audience?
Oh, it's cool. I could, Shawshank Redemption, everyone's seen. I'm going to say Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great movie. Kind of fabled, but it's very dark, fabled World War II. But it's a brilliant movie. I can't think of who made it. Otherwise, I'll say Rounders.
Yeah. Well, you just said 3 there, but I like everyone's seen Rounders. Everyone's seen Shawshank Redemption. Hopefully, if you haven't, if you haven't seen Shawshank Redemption, I need you to stop tuning.
Right. And yeah, absolutely.
Pan's Labyrinth. All right. Thank you, everybody. And that wraps up another episode of 2000% Raise. Thank you for listening. The best way to support our show is by leaving a rating or review on all platforms you listened on. And of course, by following, liking, or subscribing. Visit us at 2000percentraise.com or at John Cerasani on TikTok and Instagram. And of course, my YouTube channel at John Cerasani's 2000% Raise. Find all the ways to follow today's guests in our show notes. Thank you for being a part of our entrepreneurial journey.